Corp presents the Saphrax Protocol.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Orb, which you know. And it's the last episode of season 7, and it's good. It's bye. It's good. It's bye now.
It's good now?
It's gone. Well, I mean, good. It's gone. It's over.
No, that's done. It's it.
It's done. Yeah, until that movie comes out.
Yep. We don't know when.
We don't know when. We don't know how. But it's coming.
Yeah.
And I'm no more happier about it than you are. This is one of my least favorite episodes of the show.
Yeah.
Not just of the season. I think this is probably a bottom 10 easy episode of Venture Brothers.
It's a real bad foot to land on. It's like deciding to land on your sprained ankle. Like, this is going to go bad.
Yeah. This is there for somebody, but not for me. Originally written by Doc Hammer and originally aired October 7th, 2018. The bulk of this story and the part that I don't like is about the ceremony for making Monarch a level 10 villain.
Yes.
This tenning. This sucks the stars from the sky.
Yeah.
In a slightly more successful plot because it has to do with character, Dean is at Hank's side in the hospital, begging him to come out of his coma, while Hank, Action Man, and Phineas Phage are in something called Coma Town, which is a dream that presents as your ideal sci-fi movie in the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
So it's weird. It's not like really a mix. It's like I got the impression that Hank sees it as Empire Strikes Back, and Action Man sees it as Barbarella.
Yeah, we see it as a mix, I guess.
Yeah. But their dialogue to me greatly implies that they're seeing different things. Like they see the dolls like individual objects, but when they're talking about where they're at, they're like, I'm on Empire Strikes Back. Well, I'm on Barbarella. You've never seen that. I've never seen this.
I didn't get that sense, but I will.
People. Yeah.
I didn't get that sense, but I will see the point. Yeah.
It would be weird if it just happened to be their two favorite sci-fi movies mashed together.
Yeah.
For no real reason.
It's a shared dream. Also, Phineas Phage doesn't come in and change anything when he's there, but he's part.
He's an AT-AT walker.
Yeah, AT-AT. I always say at, and people get mad at me.
I don't know. I'm not going to get mad at you. I don't give a shit.
The worst human being who ever lived follows me around and gets mad at me when I say at instead of AT-AT. Yeah.
I took it as an eye in the beholder kind of thing that happens when you're in a coma, but it is a shared coma. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's okay.
The thing that sells this for me, Star Wars parodies and stuff, that's dime a dozen. Action Man's sincere affection for Barbarella is incredibly charming.
Yeah. It's cute. I love the Action Man. Like it's cute. It's impossible to go wrong with Action Man.
Yeah.
And him talking up Barbarella is good.
Yeah.
Like the only good parts of this episode are Hank talking to people or people talking to Hank.
Yes.
And anything that is in words that happens there is fine.
Yeah.
But like when you say Star Wars references are a dime a dozen, they're cheaper than that even on this show.
Yeah.
Like it's so hacky. It's so hacky to just have like, here's the monster from Star Wars in 2018.
In 2018.
Yeah. Man, drives me nuts. I do love the Action Man in this.
Have you ever seen Barbarella?
I've only seen bits and bobs.
Yeah.
There was like a VHS that went around my peer group that I saw part of, but they were like at, parties I was not really paying attention to the movie.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen it. It just, the 60s sci-fi is weird, but also incredibly boring. And it's never seemed like a good time, like a good time investment.
Yeah. It's the secret of watching Manos, The Hands of Fate. Where like the good parts are good.
Yeah.
But man, there's always going to be just long stretches of, whatever desert they decided to try to trick you as an alien planet. Like
Yeah, the 10 minutes of driving that happens at the beginning.
Amazing. So this was not intended to be the final episode of the series. Adult Swim said the series got renewed October 2018, but then September 2020, Ken Plume announced it had actually been canceled.
Yeah.
So it's a really bad series finale and a bad season finale. It was intended to be a season finale.
Yeah.
For that. And it is all set up for new status quo, which is acceptable. But it ends up feeling weird because usually you get that along with some resolution. Typically like a plot will resolve and then kind of give birth to a new status quo. This is just new, nothing really gets resolved.
What's funny about this is it is setting up for a new status quo, but in a lot of ways, with the exception of Hank, it is like making a very broad declaration that the existing status quo is acceptable.
It's the opposite of what you want for dramatic. It's like when the dramatic irony comes home, where like all the characters just find out what we already know. And they let that out for a very long time. So like, I understand. I'm not saying it's nothing when the Monarch definitively finds out that Rusty's his brother. That is an important moment, but you can't. I think they just really showed their hand on that way too early.
Yeah.
And showed it to the Monarch way too early. Even. And it's less interesting to watch a character. Usually it's very hard to make it interesting for a character to find out something you already know.
Yes.
Like you can do it. It's what Better Call Saul is about in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I don't think this sells it. And the main thing, like all that stuff is all true. The big thing that like kills this for me though, is it's not funny. And it's super in love with the wiki dive that Doc just happened to be on at the moment.
I genuinely buy that that his fascination with secret societies predates Wikipedia dive kind of stuff,
Sure. Like he might have read a book. I'm using Wikipedia as just a stand-in for like a factoid that wants to be shoehorned sideways into an unrelated plot.
Yeah. I guess I'm bringing that up insofar as like this feels a little bit like some of the bits. Like the little game that the Trail of Mysteries that they follow in Orb, right? Where it's just like Whistler's Gamble, Whistler's something or other.
The Hall of Quiet Whistlers.
Yes,
Whistler's Bargain or whatever, Minuet's Bargain.
Yeah.
And then the original version of that, where the old League, the old classic one where all people nobody had heard of, that just Doc had heard of. And then Jackson was like, hey, you had to put in some people know into this. This did not have that pass. So like Saphrax is a real guy. Like this is a real, this is based on a real old story. It ends different. They changed the ending of it, but it's an actual old story. And at least according to like what I saw online.
Yeah. Okay. No, I had no idea. I thought the Saphrax was the Saphrax and Altheaus were made up, but no, Gothic kings.
They're real. Yeah. But nobody knows them, so it may as well be made up. And the idea that like, they were actually the first villain because there's this old story of these kings, and Doc was like, what if they were the first villains and this is how the guild got started? Feels like a draft. Like it feels like the kind of thing you would say instead of turn into an episode.
Right.
What if that? Nah. And then you just go on from it. But instead of just make this whole thing where like the joke is just that there's pomp and ritual. And it's dead on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know what the consensus is. Maybe this is a very popular episode with other fans. I am bored out of my fucking mind during all of the Tenning stuff.
The funny stuff that happens there is the call and response that happens.
I think that sucks, dude.
I'm
happy to disagree with you. I think that's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's lame. Like the fact that they're doing Yo Mama jokes and he who smelt it dealt it jokes and stuff, and that they're based on ancient history is not good enough for me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a knee slapper. I don't think that crosses my barrier.
I guess maybe I'm just looking for bright spots, but when they say Hail Saphrax, father of players, that is funny to me. That is a funny construction, but
it's okay. It's just, I mean, it's not, I know what they were doing. You know, it's not, it works as like an equation would work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make me laugh. And I can't separate how much, maybe it's because of the rest of the stuff just feels so inconsequential. And, you know, it might also be the few and far betweenness of those bits. Like, there's a lot of like, just what if this character was in this costume? Kind of stuff.
It's impossible not to, you know, take into account, especially on a second viewing, or even just the way that you feel at the end of this, right? Okay, so that was it. But, you know, the fact that not just that this is the end and this is what stands in as the end of the series, but also, man, I forget. I lost the point I was going to say. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's hard not to hold the end of this, especially with what happens with 21. You know, just kind of the final nail in the coffin of you know, keeping him where he is. It's hard not to hold, you know, to view everything that happens here in light of the reveal, especially with the way that is sold. You know, just like you know, fuck this, fuck you, I'm gone. And then suddenly, oh, it was all a trick. And
earlier when you're like, it's more saying the status quo is okay. Like, that's really apt. It is a episode that moves us back where we've already been, like a deeply conservative episode.
Yeah,
you know, and it sets up a new status quo in that, like, the Monarch would be on the Guild Council. I don't really feel like that opens up that many exciting story opportunities. 21 is firmly a henchman. I definitively don't think that opens up new story opportunities. The only thing that's interesting is Hank going off on his own.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool. Hank running away and deciding, like, I don't need to be part of this family in this scene.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He can live his own life. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. But yeah, the rest of it just ends up feeling like it's resetting stuff. And humor is all subjective, right? Like, the fact that the jokes during the tending part don't work for me, that's going to vary from person to person. But it colored things for me, because one of the themes of the show is that, like, there are episodes of the show that are not great in terms of what happens, but I forgive because they're funny.
Yes.
You know, there just aren't very many jokes in this episode. You know?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel very dense.
No, it is. Yeah, they're like the best thing. The thing that stands out is the stuff with Dean Dean talking to Hank. That's where this
great.
lives for me. There are jokes in that, but like, that is them operating on the emotional truth of that relationship that not a lot of track was built for, but still is delivered very well. Yeah.
It's a lot of the in the performance.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of sells that. And it's, again, it's a good place for them to be, even if the way they got there was not great.
Yeah. I just, man, Dean saying, I'm jealous of your hair. Fuck you, Hank.
Yeah.
Like, it's great.
It's really good. Yeah. That is good. I guess I just don't feel like I don't feel like picking M&Ms out of the turds on it.
Yeah.
You know, like that is good. And I'll give the credit where it's good. But as a whole, I think this is a pretty abject failure.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's that's the way to go, is to pick M&Ms out of the turds, or, you know, or not even really what I'm trying to do, say like, oh, that makes up for it. No, and, you know, the good and the bad need to be evaluated, you know, on their own terms, right?
Yeah.
It's
just, there are some good bits. There just are not as many as I want. There was originally a more fun concept for this.
Yes.
Which was the Enemy Awards, like an Emmy Awards thing, like a Dundies for the Guild. But they already did that on the Tick.
Yeah. And they almost decided to go with it, but they decided there would be enough people who recognized it as a reused idea that they needed to go into a different direction. And that's how we got what we got.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's do. We have our cold open. Guild agents warp into the lab through these teleporter pads. and they're here to kidnap Dr. Venture. They expect this to be a super difficult thing to do, but a groggy Dr. Venture has heard the sound and comes in, just like, what in the world's going on? And then they grab him. Well, that was super easy.
Yep. And that's them getting him is the little dun 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 dun.
Mm-hmm.
We come over, Watch and Ward are pretending to flatter Rusty as they walk in all groggy and
You're
kidnap
looking trim.
What is your routine? Eventually they trank him.
Mm-hmm.
And they say order the team behind at the penthouse to secure Samson.
Right.
Red Mantle and Dragoon walk in. They're on the meteor base. They're late because they took the shuttle.
Yeah.
The teleporter was in use for the extraction team. They cannot do the teleporter.
And then it's revealed, like, oh, the teleporter is perfectly safe. What happened with Phage was a fluke. Phage telefragged himself. It's safe unless you are mostly metal.
Yep. Poor Phage.
Yeah.
I thought they had just written out Phage at this point, which I'm glad they didn't, because he's kind of cute, but kind of a cute character.
Yeah.
And then just some, he has a llama farm because of the Lowell random from the mid 2000s has fully made its way into the Venture Brothers.
Yeah. Llama bacon is a perfectly good protein source.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you. Red Mantle and Dragoon need to get their robe on, and Mrs. the Monarch says they need to take this seriously. It's an important tenning, the first use of that term.
Yes. Hank, who last we saw, he was passed out on the dorm room floor. He is wandering through a snowstorm on this alien planet, and he is dressed as Lando Calrissian. He even has the pencil thin mustache.
He looks great with the mustache.
He does.
These little evil dolls converge on him, and Action Man says, "Stay perfectly still. They see by movement." He's like, "They're dolls. Can I just walk?" He just kind of walks through and knocks him over. I like that bit.
Yeah.
And the Action Man being terrified of them is cute.
Yeah, it never occurred to me because they're real unsettling. Admit it, it's unsettling.
She's the leader. Yeah.
And it's just not.
Yeah. It's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Hank asks why Action Man is on Hoth dressed as a Wookiee, and he's like, "I'm not. I'm Mark Hand, the catchman from the Ices of Weir from Barbarella." And Action Man says, "We're here because we're dead."
Right. This is purgatory, he thinks.
Yeah. Action Man, who had the heart attack back in the season opener. Stroke in the season opener. Yeah, toast. The extraction team leader back at the Venture compound warps into the lab closet, and one of the men is struggling up against a shelf. Brock is using him as a puppet standing behind him. This is really brutal. Like, reaches out and crushes his windpipe, and then so he can talk, he does a tracheectomy.
Yeah.
Into his throat.
Keep your fingers out of there and get infected.
Yeah, it's real brutal shit.
Yeah, okay. We were talking shit earlier. I do enjoy the Brock stuff in this.
I enjoy it, other than the fact that I think Brock would care about his charge.
Yes.
Like, I don't think Brock would be like, I'm having too much fun playing paintball to go rescue Rusty.
Yeah. He would go through the teleporter, probably.
It's like we missed an episode where he got disillusioned with protecting Rusty completely.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little bit of that in the Unicorn in Captivity, where he's like disobedient to Rusty, but he's never like, I don't want to be your bodyguard.
It's not, I don't care if you live or die.
Yeah. But somewhere between, before these last two episodes, it feels like that happened.
Yeah.
So.
He crushes the guy's windpipe and gets him to, hand signal. Yeah, there are 15 total agents. There are going to be many, many more, but Brock's whole arc here is going to be, dealing with the agents, the blackout crew in increasingly brutal ways.
Yes. Yeah. Back at the tending ceremony that has started, drums are pounding, and Lim starts a ceremonial speech about the barbarian villains known as the Foderati. From the ranks came Saphrax Tervingian, the first man to turn a grudge into a career.
Yeah.
Does this make this better or worse for you that that all this stuff is real? Does it affect it for you?
Not really. It doesn't really have a bearing.
Yeah. I didn't find out that it was real until doing research for this episode.
Yeah.
So when I first saw it, I just thought it was an invented mythology. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bit disappointed then, because I was like, why isn't it more razzle dazzle? Why do more interesting things happen if this was an invented mythology? Mm-hmm. But then now that I know that it's real, it feels like one of those things where, like, you're in a video, you're playing a video game and you're like, oh, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is really boring. And somebody goes, oh, it's an isekai. That's a brand of Japanese visual novel where people get sucked into a book.
Yeah.
And it's like, identifying it doesn't change or challenge or answer what I said at all.
Identifying like, is step one. Step two is getting it out. Hard part. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this being real, like all this stuff being arguably real doesn't add anything.
Yeah.
And doesn't really make it better for me.
My watch, just my read on it, especially after having, learned about the way Doc operates, being kind of research heavy with all this stuff, is that, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, aside from the surprise that I expressed earlier, it makes sense that it was real. I guess that the reason it doesn't change my read on it is because I figured so much of this was based on him either, researching or just knowing about secret society stuff, the Illuminati, things that happen out at, where the Moloch owl is, things like that. The place where Alex Jones broke into. I'm forgetting the name of it. Just kind of knowing about masonry stuff is just like, oh, he just based all of this on the stories that those organizations tell about themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just the fact that it, he used so closely, I think that it was just like, oh, I'm going to go for authenticity on this, as opposed to, let's say, entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that it is that, that some of these names are real, just, it slots right into that previous read that I had.
Yeah. It's tons of verisimilitude, regardless of whether you got it from craft or from research.
Yeah.
That adds up to the same thing.
Yeah. But the Monarch in 21, they rise up on this lift into the room. They are playing the roles of Saphrax and Altheaus tonight. This first rite is that Saphrax must retrieve his favorite stone from the log of the beast.
Yeah. And this is, so reach his hand in there. He says, is this where this isn't a thing where I spin it real fast and a stone shoots out and you're impressed how clever I am, like a riddle. Like that's how he has to get it out.
I love Lim's response. You're not Matthew Broderick. Just put your hand in there.
They're going on a much baser thing is the joke. There's no beast in the log. It's just filled with the beast shit. He's like, what's the big deal? I have the stone. And they're like, you're touching poop. It's pretty gruesome. I wouldn't do it. So poo-poo caca.
Yes. Out of the Ventec lobby, Brock ambushes this guy, this guild guy, by hiding in some samurai armor. And then he grabs the PA, and addresses everybody in the building. Thank you for accepting the suicide mission. He's been bored. Your unavoidable deaths will become the stuff of legend. So death by Samson.
Yep. Hatred isn't there because Hatred is at the hospital waiting to get into Hank's room, trying in like what feels like an infinitely long subplot, trying to convince the nurse that he's family. Essentially. I was very surprised on rewatch that they spent so much time with this.
Yes.
Like there's no real joke to it. There's a little bit of a joke to it, but just Hatred being pathetic.
Yeah, it's hatred, hatred being hatred. I did enjoy the delivery on, oh, nightly nurse Cindy Marie Abrams, you are my Waterloo. Like
him being stymied, there's like a bit of business there.
Yeah.
I think that like what I'm picking up in these episodes is it feels like lack of inspiration. Like they're just kind of like, what if Hatred has a hard time getting in? And he'll say some funny Hatred lines, just throw some Hatred stuff in his mouth. It doesn't feel like there's anything particularly inspired about the dynamic. It's something new we've seen from him. I feel like we've had him at a hospital trying to convince somebody that he counts as family before this,
Yeah.
Dean's in the hospital room talking to Hank in a coma. And he's reading a letter he's prepared about how he's such a crap brother. A big list. This is very sweet. Just talking about him being a jerk.
Remember your bop at Extreme? I broke it, like, intentionally. Remember the song I played? It was totally insane and it never stopped. I still have my bop at Extreme.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's out in my garage. I went out to grab it for my box of childhood stuff, but then when I opened it up, whoever packed it up didn't take the batteries out. So
was
they
it
leaked.
screaming the whole time? Like, was it like the puppy you got for last Christmas? I mean, dog.
Spooner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was going to bring it in because it did like this is an actual thing that made a horrifying noise and it never stopped.
Yeah.
So I was going to play it, but yeah.
For people who don't know, Bop It is a little activity toy that commands you to do things.
Yeah.
So like you have to twist it or bop it. It has little nozzles that you can twist or bop. And you just do them as fast as you can.
Yeah.
It's not quite Simon.
It's not. There's a Simon mode in it where we'll do a sequence that you have to know. The Bop It Extreme, instead of having 3 inputs, it has 5 that you have to know. And you've got to do them. The commands speed up, and it's just kind of like, okay, don't accidentally bop it when you should have flicked it. Which is
it's the hokey pokey Simon side. Yeah, absolutely. Did you say good clit advice?
Well, I said good sex advice, but I was going for the clit thing, so
yeah, perfect. I picked up what you were putting down. This was what we had instead of toys. Back in Coma Land, Hank and the Action Man are being dragged down a river on a sled drawn by a manta ray. This is weird camera trickery. This like rear projection effect.
That's really good.
It looks neat. Yeah. Looks super neat.
Yeah. Hank thinks that the manta ray is a Monarch, and they're just arguing about what it is. Hank breaks it to Action Man like, hey, you're not dead. You've been in a coma since you had a stroke right before Thanksgiving. And Hank presumes that he too must have had a stroke from worrying about Serena too much.
Yeah. And Action Man levels with him like, yeah, your old man's like that as well. Someone got drunk and smiled at him. He dug in his heels and rode that poor woman until she stopped taking his calls and moved to another town. She also changed her name, and I can't tell you what her new name is. It's, pretty gross behavior. Mm-hmm. And Hank's like, are you talking about my mom? And he goes, yeah, Bobby St. Simone. But that's not the point. This is the boys being proud of themselves by, casually revealing something that would be a big reveal. Mm-hmm. Like the amount that they're getting high on subversion here is pretty extreme. Yeah. The idea that like we're going to tease the Monarch brother thing for 2 seasons and then treat that like a reveal, and then have this be a thing for the whole show, and then just have the Action Man say it,
blurt it out. Yeah.
Even though they have said interviews that they don't know that this is actually true.
Right.
This is not a definitive answer.
Yeah. Action Man Action Man is a drugged up super soldier.
Who's dead, who just had a stroke, his brain is losing oxygen as we speak.
Yeah. It's so if this is true, what this is setting up, we do, Bobby St. Simone, not a real person, also not anybody who we have, known of before. So, outside character, the fact that she has changed her name is, why nobody has ever brought her up. And she is possibly still alive and out there. Yeah.
The kind of thing that if it had been treated with any kind of gravity would be grounds for a season finale.
Yes.
Hank, is just like, man, you're right. Like I've barely lived my life, and I've just been obsessing over this puppy love. Like he's in the process of getting over Serena during this. Yeah. They're kind of arguing about this while they're speeding towards a wampa that is in their way.
Yeah.
Cut over to Brock. Brock has a guild agent cornered. The guild agent says he'll shoot. Brock says, go ahead. And the agent shoots, and Brock flies backwards. But he gets up, the bullet hit his metal chest plate.
What are you?
He starts menacing him with a sword, and the agent starts foaming at the mouth and convulsing. The guild started issuing them suicide teeth.
When did they give you those? That's cheating. Just shouting to all of them, play fair.
Yeah. Watch and Ward are back at Meteor Major arguing about test results that they got revealing the Monarch's heritage when more bodies keep coming through the teleporter.
Mm-hmm. They just keep popping in. Warden says, hey, these readings are accurate. The Monarch and Dr. Venture are blood related. Yeah, we already knew this.
We know, I scream from my couch. We're going to go to the second ritual of Saphrax, where he's crossing a guarded bridge. with a goat and a terrible magic chicken. I thought for certain this was going to be a play on the hen, chicken, wolf crossing the river, Professor Layton thing. And I was like, I was like, oh, some hay could be made of that. You know, like you could do a joke around that, but no, because it's based in real life, it just has to be, you know, like old legends, which didn't have, you know, just, oh, there's a chicken. He had a magic chicken.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. So Dr. and Mrs. Monarch, asks what gives Saphrax the right to pass. And he says, oh, your mother is waiting on the other side for us to willingly fornicate. This is where we get the call and response. Oh, no, he didn't. Yeah. I smiled, but
yeah, I can't follow you, but no judgment.
Yeah.
So it just did not work for me. Altheaus, who's 21, approaches them to aid by distracting her points. And then everyone chants, I made you look. Altheaus, the father of made you look.
Yeah.
And then he stabs her.
Yeah.
Like fake stabs her, you know, because it's Dr. Mrs. the Monarch dressed as a shepherd.
Yeah.
Lim approaches 21, says, you know, you've outperformed the rank of henchman. You've earned the title of level 4 supervillain in the middle of this. And the Monarch is very upset by this, rightly so. You know, what the fuck? This was supposed to be my party.
Do you think rightly so? Like to me, this feels like him being selfish. Like,
it is. It's certainly him being selfish. It's I guess like it's a little bit of a non sequitur to just promote the henchmen during this thing. I think that's more what feels reasonable. But again, I sloppy plotting. Like,
this is not actually real. This feels more like it's fucking with 21 than it is fucking with the Monarch.
Yeah,
you know.
And why? Yeah. What is the point in this ancient ritual of like fucking with you?
Not sure.
Just doing some little business. It's like, is this something with like great amounts of ceremony, or is this just an excuse to be poo poo pee pee and have somebody reaching a log full of shit? Like, the tone has gotten very like mixed and messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the point seems to be, you know, just this ritual and the tenning. Everything about the guild is supposed to be enforcing the hierarchy of villain and henchman. Just like, are you actually committed? Are you actually committed to the cause? Committed to these roles? But
yeah. But the thing, I feel like up until like the only thing that we ever hear about that, like 21 is the only character this entire series who cares about the role of a henchman.
Right. Everybody else, I mean, it's played for a joke. They go and recruit henchmen off the street. Like,
yeah, it's not a thing that is important, you know? So like when I say that, I feel like it's getting a little sloppy in that the guild treating it, you know, like when you say like the guild is all about enforcing these hierarchies, kinda, you know, sometimes that they take it seriously and it's about that. And other times it's just not, you know, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it just doesn't work for me. We go back to the hospital room where Dean is up to number 57 on his list. And here's where he starts getting real. I think that it's very telling that when you do something like this, you start with the superficial stuff, you know, and like you get all that out of your system and it leads you to the deeper stuff. I think that's very real.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
he's gone from talking about, you know, I claimed I didn't like 98 degrees and then I stole your 98 degree CD. He's gone from this to, you know, item number 57, which is, you know, we just stopped being close. You know, and he lays out all this stuff. Did I tell you Pop was cloned? You know, did I tell you that Pop was cloned? You know, just like us, you know, Helper's brother told me that. Wait, did I even tell you that Helper had a brother? You know, they just grew apart.
Did you know that Dermot was your half brother? You know, Rusty told me that when he was drunk. He told me he still masturbates as well, you know, but these all these things I didn't share with you, you know, and some of this is good stuff. Like, I like how real it is. There was a moment at the end of season 6 where Dean starts telling Hank this stuff.
Yes.
Where it feels like a reconciliation of them, which just, again, doesn't feel like they're on a very logical path. In terms of like the development, like I don't like how they get there, even if I like where they're at.
Yeah, you know, even there's like one episode that is a focus on Dean trying to get away, right? The high cost of loathing, right? And then there's a little bit more ground dedicated to Hank trying to figure out his own life post bed school, right?
Yeah,
but that is more played off as a joke about Rusty being a miser, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like the again, very little track laid for them actually, you know, kind of growing apart, aside from the fact that they just don't share screen time.
And what kills me is the stuff we spent instead of that. Like what we got instead of that development was Agent Kimberly McManus and S464 and the Peril Partnership. That's nuts.
Yes.
Like that's fucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I do like, so he moves on to his next thing, which is I'm jealous that you don't seem to care that you're dressed as Batman out in public, which is very sweet, thing. Yes. Like he's a Dharma and, he's a Greg.
Like, stand on this couch.
You get down on this couch, the real free spirit.
What were you making a reference to? The get on this couch or get down from that couch?
Isn't that in the Simpsons making fun of Dharma and Greg? Where he's like, get down off that couch, Dharma. How about you get up on this couch? Dharma and Greg will be back.
I can't. Yeah, that feels more. In my head, that was a Family Guy joke, but
it might be. Yeah.
Yeah. We've never joked about Family Guy before. So.
There are two Family Guy jokes from back when it first came out and I watched it that stick in my head. Apparently that's one of them.
Okay.
And the other one is Mr. Rogers saying, "What do you mean I can't take off my sweater? I'm hot."
What do you mean I can't take off my sweater?
I'm hot. And like, I rather like that without being worth watching the Family Guy for.
Yeah,
but it's so weird to me that Dharma and Greg and Will and Grace were contemporary, and it was like, what if a nerdy guy and a hippie? What if a gay guy and a lady? It's like identical names and almost identical premises.
Hey Gary, I totally thought those were the same show.
No, dude, it's weird. Will and Grace, Will is gay and Grace is not. And then Dharma and Greg, Greg is a normie and Dharma is a hippie. Those are the shows. And they ran forever. The sitcoms are horrible. People just watch any old bullshit.
Yes, dear. Yeah. There is nothing for on Frankiac on a search for Dharma. So
yeah. So yeah, it might be a Family Guy thing. That's okay because I like that bit. That is a good slam on Dharma and Greg.
So come back to Coma Town. Hank and Action Man, they're hung upside down in an ice cave. Just like the Wampa scene. But there are no Wampas in Barbarella. And Hank has to deal with this because they're in his part of this sci-fi universe or whatever. But he's not a Jedi. No, I'm Lando, so I've got to seduce Wampa with my smuggler's charm.
He does the Colt 45 commercial that Lando did.
I don't claim you have a better time with Hank 45 than without it, but why take chances? I like Hank doing that, even if it does predate his birth by 20 years.
Billy Dee Williams is great.
Oh yeah,
it's also the only Star Wars design I think is cool.
Lando's whole deal. Yeah.
None of them look good to me except for Lando. I think Lando's slick.
Yeah.
They get saved. This isn't working, obviously, but a laser saves them, blows through a hole in the Wampa's chest, and another one knocks Hank and Action Man free, and this is Phage, but his body is an AT-AT AT-AT.
Yes.
Star Walker.
And he has no idea what he is, but he is here. Or no idea what he is or where they are. Just the last thing I remember is I stepped on a teleporter, then I woke up here.
Yep. Also had a stroke.
Yeah.
In Coma Town.
The next ritual up on Meteor Major, Saphrax has to enter the tent of Emperor Flavius, with the taste of love still on his breath. He has walked along with Radical Left dressed up as Flavius's wife. And Monarch says, I've bet her twice and now I return her to you soaked with my seed. And the response is Saphrax, father of players.
Yep. He has done a little play, and this is all real stuff again that Saphrax did with Flavius, Flavius's wife. Before the Monarch can go into the tent, Dr. Z offers him a sword, like a real sword, not a fake sword. And inside the tent is his real sworn enemy. It's Rusty, strapped to a table, and they tell him, like, hey, you can kill him. The guild will cover it up. If you want this, you can do it. You can settle your grudge and then do whatever you want. You can be free. Yeah. He's like, he doesn't know what to do, and he goes inside the tent. The idea is he can decide on his own,
right,
what to do.
Yeah. Back down in Ventec Tower, Brock is covered with blood and screaming. I love cutting like right to this, and then just holding his sword out, and then he stops and like, oh wait, I need to pee. Anybody else need a pee break? He's going to give them, as a timeout. Like, if you want to pee, you can pee. I love this.
It's cute. Like they're playing the game.
Yeah.
It's a classic Venture Brothers thing.
This is pretty great. What about you? The one that has a beat on me who needs to reload. Damn it. How did you? I learned to count when I was 3.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
We go back to Hater doing some business to try to convince the desk nurse to see him by taking off his shirt and offering sex. Seen a lot of pudgy guys be like, you want this man meat?
Yeah.
As a joke. Hacky barely begins to describe it. Dean gets the last reason he's a terrible brother, which is that he slept with Serena. He's like, I don't love her or anything. I don't care about her. It was just stupid. And I miss the times when it was just Hank and Dean at the compound. And like, there's a meta element to this where like, I miss that too, man. Like this episode is making me like, like I also miss when the show was that fun, that kind of fun.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, some of that has to do with, like I like some of the things that they have decided to do with Hank and Dean, right?
100%.
It's made some, just some good ideas with how they were going to be used since they came to New York. But one cannot say that they have been used enough or used well.
Yeah. I'm in this, like in, going through every episode of this show and knowing, each episode and knowing who wrote each episode. I think that like the fatal flaw that Doc has as a writer is that he wants to have his cake and eat it too with things. So he wants to take these characters seriously and just have these like long talking scenes. But whenever he wants or needs an out or has a flight of fancy, he does this a lot in the commentaries. He'll be like, it's just, who gives a shit? We're just going to do it this way. Like nothing matters. It's just a little kid cartoon. It's stupid. I'm going to do the least obvious thing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. And he's kind of does both. Like he embodies that dissonance that I found on this revisit. That's a little bit difficult for me. Jackson has flaws as a writer as well. Like Jackson is not as ambitious. He is, a lot of times like his worst episodes end up feeling kind of workman-like.
Yes.
But the worst Doc episodes end up feeling to me worse because they're not mids. We were talking about the virtue of mids last episode. They're like these things that just don't work and have big thorns in my side.
Yeah.
With it, so like I could see Doc being the person who came up with the impetus of developing Hank and Dean's relationship this way, but he's also the person who got distracted by, oh, look, a blue car. Let's do the Peril Partnership and McManus stuff for shits and giggles.
Yeah. It's like, if you're going to decide to do this thing that, you obviously care about, you need to invest the actual screen time to develop it.
Yeah. And if you're going to do it. Follow through.
Yeah.
So he's still kind of ranting about this. He catches himself, reaches out to touch Hank. He's like, I always wish I had hair like yours. Fuck you, Hank. Him being jealous of Hank this whole time is sweet.
Yes.
And then he says, and it's genuinely really moving. He says, how they say you come into this world and leave the world alone. We came into it together, so come back to me.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Yeah. It's, like, no, I like it a lot. I'm a sucker for brotherly relationships in any kind of media, right?
It's very sweet.
Yeah. And then that is undercut. This is where they cut over to Hatred's stripping off his shirt. You can do what you want with me, and I will just purr, yes, ma'am. And
the unload from a Judd Apatow comedy from 2004. Very dated.
Yeah, and Dean walks out, saying like, "Hey, go back to the tower. Dad probably needs to be comforted."
Yeah. No one has decided to bodyguard Rusty for this day. The inventor of the teleporter doesn't matter anymore to anybody. They go back to this area. Phage explains what happened, and Hank's like, "Hey, we call it Coma Town." We realized that we had different strokes, and Phage's like, "What you talking about, Willis?" I just like that it's in Phage's voice.
Yep.
In the reference.
I like that neither action man nor Hank recognize it.
Yeah. Colonel Gentleman would have known it.
He would have.
Phage doesn't recognize where he's about. He hasn't seen either of these movies. He hasn't seen Barbarella. There's a big glowing lake of goo. And Action Man says, we have to fly there. That's the Matmos. As somebody's only seen bits and pieces of Barbarella, I was looking this up. The Matmos is apparently not very well explained in Barbarella either.
Yeah.
It's just a glowing lake of goo.
I mean, so it probably is not explained in the movie. It might be more, the more might have gone into it in the comics.
Yeah.
But it's French comics, so who knows?
Nobody will ever know. They get there. Action Man says he doesn't even know what it is. He's seen Barbarella 30 times.
Yeah.
Maybe it's this energy that surrounds everything. And then Hank says that's like the Force.
Yeah.
Confusing, but unnecessary. So midichlorians. Making fun of Star Wars a little bit, but not in a way that makes them not like Star Wars, which is always the thing that keeps me at arm's length with Star Wars fans. Like, you're making fun of this, but this doesn't ruin it for you?
Uh-huh.
You still like it? Despite the fact that they're midichlorians? Really?
Yeah. So Hank has decided this is his way out. He takes off his shoes and then he starts doing the Wizard of Oz goodbyes, giving Phage an oil can out of nowhere. I like Phage's bafflement. And telling Action Man, I'll miss you most of all. Says, hey, it's time to be a man. If I don't come back, I'm either awake or extra coma dead. And then he, dives into the lake and says, also, I'm pretty sure my brother slept with my girlfriend.
Yeah. He realizes that. Yeah. And Action Man says that kid has moxie, and Phineas Phage says that kid has undiagnosed attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is the same thing Dean diagnosed him with.
Many folks have diagnosed Hank with that.
Yeah. Another body comes through the teleporter. This time it has a note on it. Brock says, send Rusty back or he's coming through next. And the Monarch steps out of the tent and they don't know whether he killed Rusty, but his sword is dry.
Yeah.
He didn't. They're like, this is the correct choice because Saphrax let Flavius live. Apparently that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's in the actual legend, history, Saphrax killed Flavius.
Yes.
But in this version, Saphrax decided to carry the grudge without the help of Altheaus. And you think there's going to be a moment here because the Monarch says, you know what, I've actually decided you guys are fucking dicks. This is a mind fuck. Like you brought Rusty here. It's my ceremony. You made 21 a villain doing this. All this shit sucks.
Yeah.
And 21 steps up and says, if the Monarch's done, I'm done too. I don't want to start again as a villain without my best friend and his wife. Fuck it. Fuck you. Guild wins, Monarch out. We're done. We're quitting all this shit, which is a cool status, like a cool new idea. Yeah. Like the Monarch just being like, it's a little bit tortured to have 2 seasons of him wrangling with the pomp and the bureaucracy, but you could do a story about the Monarch saying, fuck it.
Yeah. The Monarch trying to go straight or, going on his own. Yeah. Like that makes sense. 21 rejects as well, saying, I just got this does get under my skin here, hench for life. I don't have that kind of a Saphrax grudge. I just want to help my best friend with his hate. Fuck you.
It's so weird that when these episodes start doubling down on 21 and the Monarch being friends, they've also made the Monarch treat 21 so much more shitty.
That's the thing.
Yeah. It doesn't make any, the 21 wouldn't do this. You can fall in unrequited love with somebody and then get over it. I believe that is possible. I don't think they necessarily, laid the track for it, but that's possible. I liked him. Operation Prom is the best season finale that the show has. Like, I love that him just being like, you know what? These are good people. Fuck you. Yeah. I think that's the best thing that's ever happened in 21. He could get over that bit, but they should have had the Monarch soften with him.
Yep.
Make the Monarch less one note.
Yeah. Make the Monarch realize what he almost lost and be grateful that he has him back.
Have a wife, have a friend, have the Monarch show gratitude for fucking anything.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate hating the Monarch.
Similarly, like for 21, there's a way to tell a story about acknowledging your limitations, right? Acknowledging that, like maybe this is where I'm meant to be, understanding that your discomfort was not with your station in life, but with X, Y, and Z around it. That can be bittersweet. That can be, Little Miss Sunshine. I almost said Little Miss Sunshine. Like Little Miss can't be wrong.
Little Miss can't be sunshine.
Yeah, but like you know,
Mike Ehrmantraut does it. I realize the cards I'm dealt.
Yeah, just there are any number of ways to show that kind of acceptance. Here again, no track for that. The train just somehow was pushed there, digging a huge rut over the course of the motion. Yeah,
took a huge departure to Kimberly McManus Town.
Yeah,
instead of doing that track.
Yeah,
so.
This was the final.
Yeah, it was all a double blind. Oh, you did the thing that you were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know what would have happened if he didn't. It doesn't matter. It was all part of the test, and he passed it. They're happy about this when Watch and Ward come in, and Watch is like, now is not the time, and Ward's like, I can't hold it back. It's too good.
Yeah.
And they cut to outside the meteor. Flashback to season 2 with a Monarch going, "Are you kidding me?" With the pregnancy.
Yes.
Which is another weak ending that they did.
Yeah.
You're what? So the Monarch, who is, despite seeing all this evidence, is finally having this confirmed.
Yeah.
That's the big twist. And then the post credits, the nurse tells Hank that Dean is gone, or Dean that Hank is gone, but not dead, like physically gone. He got up and left. Dean runs outside to look for him, and Hank is doing a monologue about how he has to find himself and grow up. Call me the Bat. And he's wearing his Batman costume.
Yeah. This is just 100% the ending of Darkman.
Yeah. Kind of weak sauce to go out on, just like a reference, like a pull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that.
I'm happy that Hank got there.
It's a fine and interesting place for Hank to be.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not happy the show got canceled at all. I would much rather have season 8 than the movie. I think that I'm kind of glad in some ways, though. I can see the benefit to them being forced to do a movie that wraps everything up to get them to fucking focus.
Yeah, it's the limitations aiding creativity, right?
Yeah. Like, you will not be able to chase every bird that flies outside your window, in this movie. Like, if you care about these characters, you have a responsibility to do something real with them, I guess.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Yep. Big bummer to me. I'm really happy it's not the end of the show as well.
Yeah.
Of this show. In addition to it not being the end of there being a movie.
Yeah. I mean, conversely, like, I think that I've got, good hopes for the movie, because in the past, when they have done, just look at the beginning of the season, right? Look at the, look at the Morphic trilogy, right? Like, when they work in that kind of, just like, okay, we have 90 minutes to work with. What can we do? They do good stuff, right? I think that that'll, if there are any ruts, that'll break them out of it. The back part of season 7 is really an aimless mess. It doesn't hold up to close scrutiny, and we're in an unfortunate position of having opted to, do something that puts close scrutiny on something we love that cannot stand up to it at this point in its life cycle. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I really hope they pull it off.
Yeah.
And their long form stuff they've done previously has been good. I'm really looking forward to seeing goodbyes for the characters who I love that maybe didn't get tons of time because they were busy chasing birds out windows. Like, give me the Triad, give me Tracer Lactus, floating out there. Give me a good Colonel Gentleman goodbye scene. Him being a fucking weirdo, I'm into that, but I was not into this. It's low on laughs and high on kind of irritating plot stuff.
Yeah.
So, yep.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. But we'll be back for at least one more episode of the show before the movie, which is talking about deleted scenes and season wrap up.
Yeah.
If you have thoughts about season 7 of the Venture Brothers, now is the time.
Yeah. I think that maybe possibly
now the time has passed.
Yeah. maybe possibly that has happened. We will have put out let's say social media notices and put something up on Patreon for that. Season 7 wrap up thoughts.
Yeah. So hopefully you write in. I'm happy, looking forward to hearing your thoughts. If you love these episodes, I want to hear it sincerely. Like, I'm not just going to clown on you or argue with you. I want to know what the argument is.
Yes.
For this Peril Partnership storyline and the McManus and these last couple episodes. So, if you like the show, follow us to Best Quality Vacuum, the show we're going to be doing after this about the Breaking Bad universe.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Just if the line from Venture Brothers to Breaking Bad doesn't seem to make sense, both of these are shows that Gary and I talk about outside of shows. Like, talking about Breaking Bad was an early non-video game bonding thing we did. Like, right, pretty much exactly when the show, like when the network started as well. Because Breaking Bad was kind of really riding high at that point. Season 2, season 3 kind of stuff. We're way into it. We're really excited to jump in. So, Best Quality Vacuum. We do not have an exact start time for that. There's going to be a little bit of a break as we get ducks in a row. But we hope you follow us over there.
Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. You can also support the network by going to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You can leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict, and you can tell your friends. All awesome things you can do.
Please do. And also, you can go Team Venture.